Pat McGrath did this stunning look on Sabrina. Let's recreate it. Now, if you have oily lids or you apply a lot of skincare to your lids like I do, I actually take a whisper. I'm talking, this is how much, look how much is on here. You can barely even see the powder, but I take that and I set my skincare essentially. And then I'm going to just go right ahead and hop into a more full coverage eyeshadow base. I'm gonna take that from my lid to my brow bone. I feel like it's very much a V through here. I'm just double checking. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start to place that darker shade, and a small brush like what I'm using right here is so key to this. And just kind of get your shape going. Also notice how much space I left underneath here. Also, that's completely normal. We're gonna fill that in. But we have to have a lot of space here to do the white shadow or the white liner in a second. And then all I do is just shut my eye and just fill in this gap a little bit. Wow, this shadow is so perfect for this look. All right, so we have our initial shape. I know it feels a little odd doing the wing first, but it's going to be a lot easier. I'm gonna take this warm transition shade and start to press that. I'm switching to a much larger brush, not the biggest brush. This is the E28, but as you can see, it's gonna lay down color really evenly and all at once. Picked up more, and then let's go ahead and connect it. Now back to the smaller brush, we're gonna start to transition the wing. I picked up a little bit of that color. That is gonna go here. I'm just kind of blurring those edges. We'll connect liner over here in a little while, but we're not quite there yet. Then I'm taking that very first dark brown, but I'm taking such a small amount, and I'm taking the fluffier brush and just lightly connecting that. We're still gonna do a little sparkle on our lid, but I wanted to do cleanup first. We're gonna do black gel liner and then the white. This look is really all about reshaping the eye, and it's also a lot about contrast. Let's smooth out the base. Creasing with this type of eyeshadow base is completely normal at this stage until you set it. It's one of the reasons I like working with it. It's really easy to fix it. Then we're gonna hop back to our palette. I feel like this shade is a little too warm, so let's go with this one. I'm gonna take the bigger brush because I want it to be a little bit more diffused, not just quite as intense with the sparkle. There we go. Now I'm gonna take this gel liner, and we just wanna do this pretty thinly. It should grab the shadow and be a little bit easier to draw at this point. And then somewhere over here is an E26. And I love to use the E26 with this formula. Soften it over that way and then just kind of even it out here. Then I'm just gonna take that same liner and gently pull that across the lash line. Now, it's time for the white eye pencil. And wherever your eye shape starts to separate, that is where we want that white pencil to come out of. And also I made sure it was really nice and tidy. That way my white pencil doesn't start to turn gray, it stays nice and bright. Now I might come back to this later and brighten it, but it can give us our starting point. It's gonna seem a little odd because most of the time we work on our bottom lash line when we get our foundation on, but this is kind of giving me a guide to how much of that I need to take off. So I need to take about that much off, and it's so much easier to tidy at this stage. Now I'm nitpicking, but this is what I find is very helpful, is to kind of step back and study the shapes. I'm just adding a little bit of black eyeshadow and that first brown eyeshadow just to get the shape a little bit more accurate, but that's about all we needed right there. Now I'm mostly gonna wear just mascara. This is my Prada mascara, but I am gonna put a couple self-adhesive individuals just out here, but we're not there yet. Now I'm just gonna do this little individual lash. These are self-adhesive. Lily Lashes. Look at how fun that is. I feel like that's perfect with this eye. There is this tiny little piece too. I'm just gonna fill in any kind of little gap here. Clamp that on. These are so easy because we don't need that glue. Look at that. That's so fun. Now, once they get more accustomed to my eye shape, I am going to kind of pinch them into the lash line more, but let them warm up. Then, almost done with the eye. I'm gonna take a black brow pen because I'm gonna get wild precision with this. I can even add a little bit more for definition. So I thought it'd be fun to underpaint with this look. By the way, this is coming back very soon. We're just a few days away, probably about 2 weeks. I know. Okay, just throw that on. Now I actually feel like this shade would have been enough, but I have this entire beautiful palette. I'm gonna mix these two, and that's what's gonna go through the center of my face. The only thing that we need to even remotely think about is this just being really nice and thin across the skin. Out of these two shades, I want to go with the warmer one first. That's going to be more of our bronzer. So this is where I just feel we do most of the cleanup with the foundation. So don't be too afraid of this. I am going to use the C40.5. We're going to get a little bit more of a chisel, but it's not all about just being so perfect. I'm going to show you where we're going to stop. Look, that's fine. And another fun little tip is doing this warmer bronzer underneath your foundation can actually shift the color a little bit. I find that my foundations match better when I do this type of underpaint. And then I'm gonna take my C40.5, same exact color, and I just like to kind of connect it through here a little bit. I feel like it really blends into the eyeshadow nicely. And then down the neck. This is where it gets super easy. Loving this foundation, by the way. It's from Shades by Shan. I'm gonna wear shade 12C. You can do this with a makeup spatula. All I do is just kind of go around the edges here. And this is what I'm talking about. Don't worry about being precise. Now just let the C42 do the work. Now the only thing we're gonna do is we're not gonna directly go on the bronzer just yet. Just go around the edges, melty. Easy peasy, and you actually don't even need to wear concealer because you're putting that foundation on top of that color correcting underpaint, and then we just go right on top and we just kind of keep manipulating the shape. Do you see how much easier that is than trying to do that perfect sculpt underneath? And then same thing on the forehead. We're just gonna get this nice and smooth right through there first, and then we just go right on top of the underpaint. And I actually like to do my contour shade on top. I find that it gets a little too muddy, that cooler tone underneath foundation. So I'll just find my natural contour here, my shadow. Woo, that's nice. And then we'll just kind of melt that in. Now I am still gonna do a little bit of concealer, and I'm doing a little bit of a peachy one because sometimes when we underpaint, what can happen is we're using that lighter shade and alone, it can look a little bit gray, especially since I have on darker eyeshadow. So a little bit of this peach concealer is gonna make it look really nice and even underneath my eye. But this is optional. I just started to notice that, and I wouldn't have if I was using less eyeshadow. My base is on, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish my eye. I'm just adding more of that gel pencil there, only because I want to really smudge it out. And while I'm still in this wet state, I'm gonna be able to correct any mistakes. And before I set, I'm gonna do a little bit of this blush. Ooh, that's a pretty color. I feel like it's gonna be nice with our underpaint situation. C41. I'm gonna set, and then we'll finish up the eye detail because I need it to not be wet for what I'm about to do. It's really satisfying to watch this set this wet makeup. Still feel like there's more bronzer going on, so I'm going to use my Givenchy. This is shade 2. This one's going to be a little bit darker. I can wear shade 1 in the winter, and I like to use shade 1 if I want a cooler, more contour, but I really want to get these cheeks nice and bronzed. And then we are going to finish the eye, but I want to do it after I get my lips on. Now her lip looks like it's a really orangey nude, so I'm gonna go in with this warmer lip liner. But it also doesn't look like it's too dark of a lip line, so I feel like this is gonna be perfect. This one's from Hung Van Gogh. It's shade Create the Shape. I feel like this nude is gonna be perfect. Also Hung Van Gogh, this is shade 88, the year I was born. Perfect. But then I'm gonna grab the liner again and blend it. Okay, this might be my new favorite nude lip. Let me make sure I'm putting on lip liner and not eyeliner on my lips. I've been known to accidentally. Blend, blend, blend. Let's go back with the brow pen and just connect. Then it actually looks a little softened. Douglas is very busy and have things to do. I liked it more defined, but I want it to be a little bit more true. I'm gonna take this part of the bronzer. I love that I have options with this bronzer. And I'm just gonna smudge underneath here a little bit. A little bit more of that white liner to make it pop. Now do keep in mind the lighting here is just wildly warm in the most gorgeous toasty way. So my lighting is just very, very true to color. I'll take a picture and I'll try to find a filter that looks like this. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I sure enjoyed painting my face today. All right, I love you so much. Thank you for hanging out with me. Bye for now.